Fatum Betula, Latin for Fated Birch, feels like the video game version of an Intro to Philosophy college course with a schizophrenic professor. I say this as a form of mild praise. Normally, a 3D adventure game / walking sim is outside of what I consider to be enjoyable in games. However, a certain game about dental hygiene has caused a shift in my opinion about the genre. Plus, this will be the first game in the year of recommendations / requests as I want to expand my horizons and try things I've never heard of. Fatum Betula certainly is a way to kick things off. So join me as we explore this little world full of secrets. Though a little contextualization doesn't hurt. Released June 20th, 2020, Fatum Betula is the product of the mind of Bryce Butcher. He's a relatively young solo dev out of Texas who has been making games for some years now. I didn't know this before writing, but Butcher is currently working on 500 caliber contracts. A game that I wanted to play before the year of Luigi, mind you. There's a great article by Patrick Klepek over at Vice that does a much better job at going over Butcher's backstory and the game's development than I ever could. I recommend reading it before continuing with the rest of this video. Visually, Fatum Betula earns nothing but high marks for me. Recently, I've been emulating quite a few 5th generation games, and to see the style recreated with an insane degree of accuracy is fascinating. The most obvious features will be the aspect ratio, texture dithering, and the low poly look. But there are other subtleties, like occasionally being able to see between the textures into the empty world beyond. The environments are perhaps the most important part of the visuals. In total, there are 15 different zones to explore, all separated by a loading screen. The choice to have loading screens is fascinating to me. It is definitely not a technical need. I can't help but be in awe at the dedication to the aesthetic. At the same time, I'm having a hazy memory of another truly awful game that did the same thing. So thanks for that. Yeah. Each zone is fairly small, but will often have a sort of ethereal beauty or sense of mystery that drives you forward. My personal favorite zone is the Zen Lake, with its nightmare version being a close second. The character designs are also worth talking about. Many of the denizens of this world are strange-looking creatures who can be sometimes deeply unsettling. Some can't even exist and yet do in complete suffering. Mr. Bones the art critic is really fucked to look at for me. The implications of the man behind the glass are quite disturbing as well. Perhaps none are stranger than Scary Face that gives you vials. At the start of each run, you have to stand at the end of this pathway and stare into the dark until this freak emerges to give you the most important item in the game. These vials are what you will use to collect the various liquids in the world. I grew tired of this particular routine by the 3rd time through. If only I had realized that this game had a quick save feature before practically beating the game. As far as sound goes, the music is often on point for setting the mood. There are times that it can be incredibly peaceful and then disturbingly discordant in the same song. That's nuts. Props to Simone Peltier for understanding the assignment. Quick sidebar, but they appear to be a ghost in the machine. All I can find are a couple YouTube videos crediting him for the music and a Bandcamp page. Anyway, outside the music, there isn't much sound to talk about. What's there is stock, but competently chosen. Though I must say, the decision to secret away an entire radio show episode from the 1940s into your game sure was an interesting one. Enough that I sat around and listened to it for an extended period of time.
Jumpin' creepers, why does it have to be on Sunday?
Betty, I think that's a very selfish attitude. After all your father has done for you.
But I'm gonna buy him a necktie.
Why can't we just polish the car or something?
Gameplay, or lack thereof, is the downfall of Fatum Betula for me. Most of the game consists of exploring the various zones, collecting items, talking to the inhabitants, solving puzzles that barely stimulated my frontal lobe, and pouring random liquids into the waters to feed the tree. Each liquid serves a different function, and almost all lead to a different ending. Which leads us right into the story, as I don't have much else to say about the gameplay. It's a walking sim. Gameplay is often a secondary concern to the presentation and the story. That's not me griping on it, that's just how the genre is. Fatum Betula has a total of 11 different endings, including a super secret ending that requires the ability to read some spaghetti code. The secret ending is actually my favorite, but I won't spoil it here. To end the game, pour liquids into the tree water. Liquids feed tree and affect the state of the world. Why is the tree significant? I don't know. Maybe it's Yggdrasil for all I know. The creepy face keeps telling me to feed the plant with anything but my blood, which I of course do and get shamed for perpetuating a cycle of violence. Quite a few of these endings tie into the idea that immortality sucks actually, or how your actions as a player to obtain the liquid used should make you feel bad. Personally, The Bones ending is the best. Everybody is skeletons! Though, admittedly, I might be biased. Now, I do have some proper critique for Fatum Betula. My biggest criticism is that I wish this game was overall more coherent. It often feels like a bunch of ideas thrown at the wall and thinly connected together, which causes it to end up feeling hollow. There's no focus in the messaging. Every ending is trying to tackle a different subject with under a minute to get the point across. Like, yeah, murder's bad, the 1% have made life worse for the other 99%, and I'm gonna die one day. These are all undeniable truths, but to just regurgitate them without trying to expand upon or explore them in any way is silly. If the idea was to create vibes, then job well done. But frankly, that means all style, no substance. To me, it comes off as pretentious when I'm fairly sure it's not supposed to. No one is going to go through the effort of creating a video game mostly by themselves without having something to say. I mean, there's a point where you meet in-universe God. On one hand, I realize this is the developer's stand-in. He has created everything in this reality. He even feels some sort of responsibility for the world he has created. The false past makes it feel all the more real. But on the other hand, that can't stop me from groaning out loud. Fatum Betula is a video game. It's a fake virtual world with inhabitants that don't really exist and can't possibly ever have any kind of free will of their own. They're nothing more than lines of computer code and textures stretched over vertices. It is something that, by its very nature, must come to an end. I have to go back to interacting with the real world after all. Acting like this is something deeply profound causes me to roll my eyes. Truth be told, I personally did not enjoy Fatum Betula. While I found the presentation to be immaculate, the actual game underneath is hollow at the core. The good news is that Fatum Betula costs only a crisp $5 bill. If you enjoy walking sims, then I would recommend giving it a try. The attention to detail of the presentation is masterful, and the concept itself might hold deeper meaning to you than it does to me. Otherwise, if you are like me and don't actively seek out walking sims, I wouldn't go out of your way for this one. It won't change your perceptions of the genre. Dear Esther set mine, and it took 11 years and some mouthwash to change them. Anyways, onwards to the next game. Thanks for watching. More garbage to come. He-Man! Skeletor! Everybody is skeletons!